Hey, guess what? I'm Robert Phoenix, and this is the Astro Weather. All right, this is the Astro Weather, and is being brought to you by me, Robert Phoenix, and of course, our great sponsors who I will talk about, and some of them in short notice. Uh, so, hey, what's happening, everybody? How you doing out there? It is cold. It is cold here in Texas, and we have a cold blanket draping itself across the United States and North America. And I know that there are people that listen from other parts of the world. And I hope you're staying warm and cozy during these holiday times. I had comfort food last night. I had this gluten-free tortellini with cheese in it. It's really good. It's like the best gluten-free cheese tortellini you can find. But I needed a sauce for this tortellini, and that led me to a visit to HEB to get a few other things as well. So I went down the sauce aisle, and very particular about my sauces. And I found one that just jumped right out at me. It was a butternut squash sauce. And I'm like, that's my holiday meal for tonight. Cheese tortellini, butternut squash sauce. And I threw some little slab of butter in the butternut squash sauce to sort of butter it up a little bit, and then hit it with some Parmesan cheese on top. I mean, come on. This is what we eat during this time of year, right? It's cold. Wasn't really in the mood for a salad, but clearly the salad is an option. But anyway, that's just what I got into last night. A little comfort food. How's everybody doing? We're going to get into some astrology, some astro weather. I've got a link up for 15 Minutes of Flame. That's in the body of the text for today's show, as well as links for our two sponsors, Silver-Botanicals, which I'll get to in a minute, and of course, True Hemp Science, where we go over the True Hemp Science star of the day. And today we have a good one. We got a good one in store for you today. Anyway, let's go through chat. Let's see who's here. We got, of course, batting leadoff. He's the Ricky Henderson of chat, and that's DJ MC Michael Sisterdino. The new next, Mr. Ed of the Seas. Yeah, I get into this, I don't know, anthropomorphic state. I like creating hybrids, chimeras. Maybe there goes back to my time in Atlantis. But it felt like there was potential for the seahorse to come into this discussion of Sagittarius and create a different version of the seahorse. If I had it to do differently, I may have put tiny sea nymphs on the seahorses, riding the seahorses. Now that would have been cool. I wasn't thinking about that, but that would have totally set it off. Sea nymphs riding seahorses with wings on a wave across the sea as the sun rose on the distant shores of Atlantis. Jam Chloe's here. What's up, Jam Chloe? Janine. Hey, Janine. Liddy Lou. What's up, Liddy Lou? The lovely and talented one is here. Let's see. Saving Austin one tooth at a time. Lisa Ann White. What's up, Lisa Ann White? The law. Raffy's here. What's up, Raffy? Scrubbies. Walking the dog. Dogs are good for that. Dogs are good for getting out of the house and walking. Cats, on the other hand, are not. Cats keep you firmly attached to your couch and your chair because that's where they like to stay. So I think in a world that's balanced and homeostatic, you have both. You have a dog that you can get out and walk with, and yet you have the cat that brings you comfort, lowers your blood pressure, and is your lapanion, which is a lap companion, the lapanion. Let's see, who else do we have here? Okay, Sobchak, what's happening? Good morning back. It's 37 degrees up in McKinney. Burr. Debisu is here. She was talking about her experiences with Krampus, and St. Nicholas. The further I looked at Krampus, the more time I spent looking at Krampus, the more I realized that Krampus was a depiction of Jews in Germany, because when you get into it's just one of those things, you just follow your intuition, right? So I typed in Krampus and Jews, and it talked about the anti-Semitic properties of Krampus, and it was like I was looking at one of the Krampus faces. I'm like, what's going on here? Why does this face seem familiar, like Nosferatu or something? Why does Krampus have a big hooked nose? And it's like, oh, I get what's happening. Right? They are anthropomorphizing a particular part of the culture. But it's weird, right? Because Krampus is always next to St. Nicholas. Now, the politically correct version of St. Nicholas is that he's white and robust and is a stark Aryan contrast to the anti-Semitic trope known as Krampus. I wasn't there. But it's clear that St. Nicholas has no problem hanging out with Krampus. So maybe it's a lot less anti-Semitic as perhaps one would think. I'm just saying, right? But it's fascinating when you follow that thread. And it's like, oh, wow, there's child abductions and there's weird shit going on with Krampus. Like, what are they really saying here? I still lean into the fact that Krampus is very Saturnian and very Capricornian with cloven hooves and everything. And the depiction of St. Nicholas is very Jupiterian. If you miss Sunday night show, I get into this. But I stumbled into the controversy of the anti-Semitic Krampus. Mary Grether's here. What's going on, Mary? Amy Gill. Esperanza Vence Tarot, the lovely one. Got to butter that. Yeah, it was good. The butter really set it off. Hi, Diane Evans. Diane Evans is here. Liddy Lou, she's got a lot of holiday stuff going on. Big family up there. I bet she's decked her place out. Let's see. I love butternut anything. Who doesn't love butternut anything? Butternut soup, butternut squash, butternut pasta. I mean, the actual pasta itself wasn't made out of butternut, but I've had butternut pasta. Who hasn't had butternut pasta? Butternut ravioli, butternut squash ravioli. You guys have had that, right? The butternut squash is highly underrated. Jesse Green Sparks. What's going on, Jesse Green Sparks? Maya Rose is here. Ratchet Boo. What's up? What's up? What's up? Catherine Rosen, 45 degrees here in Western Florida. Brr. Let's see what else we have. Blood Hair Talk. What's up, Jen? Good to see you. Grateful to be here with the legends. That's right. Chataria is legendary. Josie's Jazzy Junk had a good cannoli last night. I haven't had a cannoli in years. When I was in North Beach, I used to have some cannoli. Pluto moved out of gate 60.6. Struggle. And now in gate 41.1, planting new seeds. I like that. Let me throw that up there, Catherine. I like that. Start the start codon. Here we go. Man, I've been feeling that struggle with Pluto gauge 60.6. I've been feeling that for sure on a number of levels. Let's see. Soul Travelers here, Karen Wallace. I remember the ads for packages of seahorses in my Tiger Bee mag. Yeah, I used to be able to get those. And I think they're actually brine shrimp, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they were in comic books as well. And you were ordering brine shrimp. Let's see, who else do we have here? I saw somebody walking their cat the other day. Most cats don't respond well to harnesses, although every now and then you'll find one. Cats are weird that way. Brian Scott, what's up, Brian? Bought a bottle of wine to get home last night. I realized I have no wine opener. Screwdriver is your friend. I've been there. You get a screwdriver, you get a hammer, and you hammer the cork into the bottle. It's not the best solution, but in a time where you don't have a wine opener, it works. I've done it more than once. The noticing continues. Yeah, it's really but it's interesting how Krampus was woven into a holiday tradition. It was, I don't know, there's something insanely Jungian about Krampus and St. Nicholas, and how two of them sort of work together to form this psychic monad. And I mean, let's be honest, a lot of it is behavioral modification for children. But it kind of works, right? And it covers the bases. And it feels like the light is only can only be measured in some ways by the darkness which it illuminates, and the darkness itself, which is an essential part of life because we experience it, is also a respite from continual light. So the two are part of this alchemical dance, and they have their cultural representations. And Krampus and St. Nicholas seem to reflect that. But there's also the other cultural signs and signifiers, and there you go. And it was just one of those things. I was like, wow, that looks a lot like Nosferatu. That's when you get that's when you find the screwdriver. It doesn't matter what screwdriver it is. I prefer, if you don't have a wine opener, I prefer the Phillips over the flathead. Lena Winkler, I miss my kitty. She was a sweetie. The dog misses her too. It keeps moving constantly. I've been getting into Foxx videos. Foxes are a trip, man, especially when they're domesticated. Screwdriver and hammer. There you go. Josie's Jazzy Junk. Now, I didn't know about this. Oh my God, look at this. If you're bad, Zwart Piet takes you to Spain to work in a factory. So Zwart Piet is the dark companion of St. Nicholas from another cultural tradition. Hey, we got Ferris. We got a Ferris sign. What's going on, Ferris? Good to you. Good to see you. Dead Wolf Resistance in the house. Let's see. Get you that cat. President, the Piers Fuentes interview was wild. I'm going to talk about that over on 15 Minutes of Flame. Southwest Florida Real Estate. What's going on, Lewis? It's been a while, at least since I've seen you. I hope things are looking up. I'll tell you this. If old men who look like Santa don't want to be noticed, maybe you don't wear red and drive around in a motor car with bells in it. Yeah, I mean, that would be probably good advice. You know, I could probably rock the Santa if I wanted to. I could grow this out. This would be all white. Grow my hair long. It'd be all white. I could probably. I was Santa one time in a parade in San Mateo, California, when I was 20. I was 20 and I was Santa. And I rode on a fire truck, threw candy to the kids, and pulled into a parking garage that the city owned. And there was a line of kids waiting there to sit on my lap. And I remember this one woman came up to me. She was a mother. And she said, she was from there. She says, I don't know how old you are, but you are doing a tremendous job as Santa. That's when Jupiter and Sagittarius in the first house kicked in. I was channeling Santa. You too can channel Santa. That's the beauty of Santa. He's the spirit of Christmas there for everyone. Okay, thanks for being here. I know a lot of times I am derided for spending too much time with you, but that's just too fucking bad. Let's see. Anybody else I missed? Yeah, the thing with the Piers Morgan and Nick Fuentes interview was that that Edgar Winter look. Man, am I that white? Am I rocking that much albino? Thor by the doors here. What's up, Steve? Good to see you. There was this guy who used to, I don't know, I haven't been there in a long time, but there was this guy who used to dive down at the Barton Springs pool. It's a spring, but it's also a pool. It's very cold. And I don't know. I would when I lived in Austin, I used to enjoy going there for the summer or during the summer. And there was a guy down there who fucking looked like Santa Claus without the belly fat. And he was a great diver. Like, this guy was one of the best divers on the scene. I mean, he was really amazing. And then when he wasn't diving, he was on kind of the side of the pool area where they have kind of a grassy knoll. And he's like kind of doing stretches and yoga. And I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking, fuck. And at that time, I was in my 50s. I think it was probably around maybe 56, 57. And this guy was clearly like late 60s, early 70s. And I'm thinking, that dude is in better shape than I am. Like, he can twist into a pretzel. I wasn't that pliable. Let's see. I could have some fun with that. I am sure I could. Give me some mistletoe. Who else do we have here? Are we good? Are we good? All right. Let's talk about one of our great sponsors. And that great sponsor is Silver-Botanicals. I have the taste of the Silver Tongue Oral Care still lingering in my mouth. It's not bad. I mean, this is the beauty of like working with silver as part of the products. It has kind of a protective shield. And that's even after I had a cup of coffee. Now, the Silver Tongue Oral Care did not get in the way of me enjoying my cup of black coffee. But even after it's gone, I can still, the coffee that is, I can still kind of taste and feel a little bit of that Silver Tongue Oral Care. And that's when you know it's working. Right. So it's just one part of the gift from the Magi bundle. And right in the center, we have the gift of the Magi personal spray. So you can use that for your body. You can use that for your personal space. It's wonderful. I keep one of those in the bathroom just in case somebody wants to come in. Sometimes that's me, and spritz the atmosphere. It's if you have a purse, if it's easy in your purse, and it's just a great, refreshing sort of personal scent. You don't have to wear it, but it does invigorate the space around you. And it's made with all the ingredients. Oh, no pick. Oh, thank you, Steve. This is the beauty of. There we go. Let's do this. Try it again. This is the beauty of StreamYard. Let's see. Try it again. Once more with feeling. Here we go. Right there. All right. That should do it. So there's your Silver Tongue Oral Care. And then, of course, you have all of these different products from our good friends at Silver-Botanicals. We have the Gift of the Magi. We have the nebulizer. We have the sea serum. We have the bath and body care here. So that's good for 2 applications for your personal bath. This is a great package, and it is wonderful as a gift to send to your friends. And you've got a $20 discount, plus you have free shipping. If you just want to try one of your products there or one of their products, Astro Weather is your code. When you check out, you get 10% off automatically, whatever you buy. But this has been a very, very successful offering. And it's good through December 31st. I don't know when their shipping deadline is. I'll get a handle on that sometime this week. So, of course, earlier is better. Okay, there you go. From our guys at Silver-Botanicals. Let's get into where we are now. And I love what Catherine brought up about the Pluto moving into a new codon. And I wonder if Pluto also moved out of being out of bounds. I wonder if that, I'd have to check that. I'll report back tomorrow. But that would be fascinating, that Pluto moving from the out of bounds position into a new gate and correlating that would be fascinating. You know, when a planet is out of bounds, it is difficult to control. And there is an out of bounds. Like, a lot of people think that they have a bunch of planets out of bounds because they're like 25 degrees and above. And that's not really true. There is an out of bounds calculator. Let me see if I can find it here. So if you're interested in that, you can just dial in your birth date, and you'll find out whether or not your planets are out of bounds. And let me put that, because I think it's one of the more misunderstood aspects. Inbounds now ingressed into. There you go. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you very much. That was my sense. All right, there we go. So if you're interested, I just put this in the chat. If you're interested in finding out what planets are out of bounds in your chart, you can go there, and that's lunarium.co.uk, and it's a calculator. It will tell you. And then when if you find, like, I don't have any planets that are out of bounds, but when you find the out of bounds, if you have one, it's an area where that planet is slightly uncontrollable in your chart. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, I'll tell you who has an out of bounds planet in their chart, and that's Joan. Her Mars is out of bounds, and she's, incredibly independent. Like, that has always been her thing, is being very independent, figuring out, like, her life, her lifestyle. And even now, she's got all these pets she feeds. I don't know, even pets, they're just wild animals, right? It's almost like she's got, the back 40, even though it's probably the back 2. But there's this kind of spirit of independence that you get with Mars. And sometimes you'll get strong-willed people, depending on what sign Mars is in. That will affect the out-of-bounds action of the planet. And I think it's really fascinating, just in terms of its application in the chart. So you guys can go in there, you can play around with it. And if you find that you have an out-of-bounds planet, now you can plug into Google and say, what is Mars out of bounds? What is Venus out of bounds? What is Jupiter out of bounds? The moon is never out of bounds, by the way. It's never out of bounds. Okay, let's get back to this. Let's see. Now. No. There we go. Okay, we got the moon. Speaking of the moon, it's in Leo. Are you guys feeling it? Are you feeling a little more festive and jolly as the moon comes in and trines the sun and trines Mars today and trines Chiron? The moon is squaring Uranus. I think that's playful rebellion, right? It's playful rebellion. However, it is also part of a T-square with Mercury. And it feels to me like there's a lot of flow in this chart. Like there's just a lot of like going with the flow, happy holidays. Like this is a chart of good cheer. However, that said, it's so easy to just be in it and kind of get swept up in it that you don't pay attention. And this is where Mercury comes into play. So enjoy it. This is a very expansive time of year. You just check your waistline. Enjoy the energy, but don't get too lost in it. If you get too lost in it, especially today, you may suffer the consequences of not paying attention. And again, especially if you are on the highway, because we're still dealing with that Mars, Saturn, and Mars, Neptune square. So for you people that are in parts of the world that have icy highways, I talked about this before, this is not the ideal conditions to drive with a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Saturn, of course, going direct, and Mars, the chariot, squaring off against the two. Another byproduct of this Moon-Mercury square, which I think is interesting, is if you come into a disagreeable moment, you can figure out where you want to weigh in on that. And I'm not saying that you should shy away from conflict. Needless conflict, I think, is you don't want any part of needless conflict. But real conflict and standing up for something that you know is right and correct and true, especially during the month of Sagittarius, can be important. However, I would say, again, pick your battles, because there's way too much flow in the sky right now to be hung up on ultimately like being right. Like to me, this Mercury moon square and opposing Uranus, it's like, oh, do I want more flow, or do I want to stand out and be right? And I feel like that's a choice. Now, sometimes you get drawn into the conflict and you have to finish the conflict once you're drawn in. That's the way these things go. But there's just too much good cheer, goodwill, good flow in the air right now. I would also say that with the moon here squaring off against Mercury and Uranus, it feels to me like there's some last minute travel plans that are about to change. And I don't know if this is going to be weather related, but getting to and from home is a bit tricky here. And it's not just today, because we're kind of scaling this out, right? Because the moon is going to go into its balsamic phase, and it's going to come up to be new. And in that balsamic phase, it's going to be definitely more on the, I would say, challenging side to arrive at your domestic destinations. That's what we'll go with, domestic destinations. And it's an interesting energy. But again, it's temporary, it's transitory. By the time we wake up tomorrow, the moon will have moved on and we're into Virgo. And then we have, should I have that second slice of pie or second slice of cake moment, right? Should I have that second or third glass of eggnog at the office party moment, right? Virgo says, no, you shouldn't. Sagittarius says, yes, you can. Not that you should, but you can, and you may as well. It's only once a year. You may as well indulge, right? I mean, this is the nature of all the Sagittarian planets. Virgo says, oh, watch your carb intake, right? In terms of the big picture, I don't know. It feels like I don't know if this has to do with Pluto no longer being out of bounds and going into a new gate, but it feels like we're in kind of an interregnum period. Like there are things that are happening globally, happening at a collective level, right? Like the mundane interpretation, but it almost feels like there are things that are on hold right now. It feels like of course we always stumble across dramatic events, but it feels more like the stories are personal versus sort of collective, even though we have a lot of like outer signs and outer planets connecting with those outer signs. Now, I'm going to save that story for 15 minutes of flame. I did find something yesterday, which I thought was highly unusual. And it kind of dovetails with this Nick Fuentes interview with Piers Morgan. And more than that as well. What sign is Piers Morgan? He strikes me as being either a Pisces or a Virgo. Let's see what his astrological chart is. Let's see. He's born in 1960. There he is. We're going off the cuff here. March 30th. Aries. He's got to have some Pisces in there somewhere. Yeah. Moon and Saturn in Pisces. And look at all that Virgo. So it wasn't that far off. I mean, you can feel that in Piers Morgan's chart. He has a very unusual chart. We don't have a time for him. But he's got Venus, Sun, Mercury in Aries, Jupiter in Taurus. So he's got the voice part down. And he likes to play devil's advocate. He spent 2 hours trying to get gotcha on Nick Fuentes. And a 2-hour interview, and Nick Fuentes was being interrogated. So there you go. There's a little Piers Morgan. And I was right. I was feeling that Virgo Pisces kind of conundrum in him. And Aries Sun, born in 1965. He looks older than that, doesn't he? I think he does. All right, let's get back to our chart. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it feels like we're in this kind of interregnum period. I don't know if you guys saw the video of what's his name, Alexis Karp, on that talk show. Of course, Alexis Karp is part of the two-headed beast known as Palantir, the other head being Peter Thiel. I mean, these guys are just two complete, utter weirdos. And Alexis Karp was on this talk show, and he was flopping all over the place, like he was high on toot, and ketamine, and who knows what else, right? And I don't know if that qualifies as a mundane story, but it certainly qualifies as a personal one for, I think it's Alex Karp, but I think it's short for Alexis. Anyway, very weird. and people are looking at this guy like, what the fuck? What is this guy on? And that gets us into, Pluto in Aquarius territory. And as Mercury moves into this sextile with Pluto, uh, getting ready to ingress into Sagittarius, people notice these things. They're like, what is this guy doing? I mean, he made Tom Cruise's Oprah couch bouncing seem mild and tame in comparison. It was like this guy had fire in his underwear. And people notice that stuff, right? Like the internet, even though the thing about the internet is that we're dealing with a lot of dead internet. So finding older things can be difficult. However, the new stuff that's circulated goes viral very quickly. And there's a lot more real-time absorption than there is legacy media on the internet. And that's due to the fact that search engines just don't populate their search results. So getting your site listed and being a part of a search result grab can be very, very difficult. However, in the immediacy of the internet, there's a lot of kind of grabbing in the now. And that video was disturbing. And so people notice that, right? And like, I mean, this is the guy that's behind Palantir, and Palantir is going to be sort of one of the eyes in the sky that's going to, track our whereabouts. And Alex Karp has been very open that he's going to track down their enemies, whoever their enemies are. But I think that's a notice, right? That is a notice of something personal. But again, it is sort of bubbling up through the collective. I think the person that you want to watch out for is probably Zelensky. Like if we were going to target somebody in terms of their shelf life, I think it's probably Zelensky, who is an Aquarian. And I'm not sure exactly what sign his sun is, but Pluto is clearly creeping up on it. And I wonder if we're going to get some Zelensky. The guy's just not long for his reign. And I'm going to talk about Nick Fuentes and Saul Alinsky on 15 Minutes of Flame. But clearly the Ukraine action has run its course. There's no energy there. Nobody gives a shit about Ukraine anymore. Like you can't even really summon up Russia as the bad guy with Ukraine anymore. It's not happening. By the way, apparently, I don't know if you guys know this, but apparently Obama has moved to England. Do you know that? Have you guys heard this? He shows up more than frequently at Keir Starmer's home, and also Tony Blair. Like Obama has sort of switched sides. Like I think he's afraid that Trump is going to throw him in jail. And if I think that there's a there actually. I think there's a there. And so he's removed himself from being in the U.S. That's another person to keep an eye on, is the fate of Obama, who is a Leo, obviously, we think. When he was young, he had a big afro. I think that qualifies as being a Leo. Keep your eye on Obama. Keep your eye on Zelensky. These are two characters. And Obama, it would be the Pluto-Sun opposition that would begin to take place starting next year. And I wonder how that's going to impact him. Okay. Keep an eye on over-imbibing, overindulgence. We got that Mars-Neptune square still hanging out there. Mars is conjunct the galactic center right now. You got to like that. It's conjunct my Jupiter. I definitely have to watch out for too much cheese tortellini with butternut squash sauce. That was really good. I actually have my meal lined up for tonight. I do, but I can't tell you. I mean, I would be almost, well, I'll tell you. It's another of the, it's just, I'm just feeling it. I'm feeling the cold. I'm feeling like I want comfort food. So I'm going with the gluten-free fettuccine. And this is this gluten-free stuff. I think it's called the Republic of Pasta or something like, I forget the name of it. But it's really good. It's got minimal ingredients. I've checked through all these gluten-free. It's the best. Republic of Noodle. Let me see if I can find it. People have asked me about it. The thing I like about it is that you have to go to the refrigerator, the refrigerated section. They do not sell this. So the cooking time on it is really, really short. And let me see if I can find it. Republic. I think it's called Republic. Let me see. It's called Taste Republic. And I don't get paid for this, but I'm going to throw this up here because this is the stuff that I found right here. I only got 20% off your order. And this is everything that they have here. You can get a variety pack. So they have gluten-free ravioli, tortellini. This is spinach and cheese. I got the cheese. There's a linguine, fettuccine. I got that waiting. They also have, what is this one? Free casillo at pepper. It's a pepper tortilla. Anyway, this stuff is great. I mean, if you go down this route, this is Look No More. This is the company. This is the product that I highly recommend. And it has a lot to do with, you can do gluten-free lasagna sheets. And it just has to do with the fact that it's minimally processed. You got to go to the refrigerator and get it. There's very little cooking time. Will you pay more for it? Yes. But it'll also be better for you if you are so inclined to eat this stuff. So tonight, it's the fettuccine with a marinara and hot Italian sausage. There you go. Okay. Let's do a little banner work here. And let's say some nice things about our friends at True Hemp Science. And we get into our star of the day, which is a really interesting star of the day. Let me see here. So our star of the day is Red Foxx. And the True Science star of the day, of course, is brought to you by True Hemp Science, your one-stop shop for all things CBD. And right now, if you're a first-time buyer, you get a 20% discount on all of Chris's fine products there, from the tinctures to the gummies. You can get it all over at True Hemp Science. And if you type in 15MINS, you will get a goodie bag on top of your discounted order. It's a great time to explore the benefits of CBD in your life. It's a shame that this current administration has decided to demonize it, but let's support our CBD purveyors while we can, and hopefully they may be able to mount a legal challenge and stay in business and provide high-quality products that are an alternative to the allopathic medicine machine. Okay, let's talk about Red Foxx. So Red Foxx, there are a lot of very funny Sagittarian comedians. In fact, some of my favorites are Sagittarians. Bill Hicks was a Sagittarius. Richie Pryor, Sagittarius. Wasn't a huge Sam Kinison fan, Sagittarius. And Red Foxx finds himself in the Sagittarian category. And the thing about Sagittarian comedians is that they're incredibly irreverent. And of course, he has a grand trine with Sun, Mercury, Neptune, Moon. And he's not afraid to go into the blue language territory, obviously. Not afraid to explore that at all. Red Fox back in the day was one of the first dirty comics, and it limited his venues. Let's put it that way. But he winds up getting a break with Sanford and Son. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but Red Fox and a guy by the name of Malcolm Little, who would then become known as Malcolm X, were friends. And they used to hang out together in New York and get into all kinds of trouble. So Red Fox was Malcolm X's street buddy until Malcolm X found Allah and God. So let's get into his chart. Now, what I think is interesting is Saturn, right? He's got Saturn in the first house. And Red Fox, when he plays George Sanford, right? When he plays George Sanford on Sanford and Son, he's 50 years old. He looks like he's fucking 70, but he's 50 years old. He was born in 1922, and Sanford and Son premieres in 1972. And so I have a chart that we'll look at, and it'll show you how he really kind of shot to fame based on the transits. But I think DeMond Wilson, who played his son, was like 12 years younger than him. It was almost like he could have been his little brother or something. And so he's good at playing the old man with Saturn in the first house. Now, he got into financial issues big time. Sanford and Son ran for about 5 years, had a pretty good run. I remember it being one of my favorite shows. I loved Grady, played by Whitman Mayo. I love Grady. He was so funny. I believe it was Matthew, what's his name, who played Steiny on The Little Rascals, had a semi-recurring role on Sanford and Son. It was a show that employed a lot of black actors, which I thought at that time was good. We got to see a lot of them were clearly older from a different time. And even Red Fox, as much as he was contemporary, he was older. Anyway, he blew through his money. Jupiter, Scorpio, second house, square Neptune, square the moon. He blew through his money. He also did funny stuff with the IRS, right? So when you get into Scorpio, you're dealing with other people's money and what you owe them, right? And so he got to a point where he had a comedy club, which, for me, like that True Note in the 12th house, I feel like that's kind of comedy clubbish, right? Like nightclubs, movie theaters, places where you're kind of out of the world in some ways. And, he has that group experience up in his 11th house with Neptune and the moon. But he almost had his comedy club kind of repossessed by the IRS. And then a bunch of comics did almost like a telethon so they could keep his club open in LA. And it was a big deal. I think it happened over a weekend. I think they raised like 150 grand or something. Like, it was not an insignificant number. And he blew through that as well. So Red Fox was a bit of a spender, right? And I think when you get into that Jupiter, Neptune, Moon square, you're not thinking about tomorrow, right? And I think eventually that comedy club wound up closing. And you can see the irreverence, right? Sun, Mercury conjunction, third house. He's quick. He's witty. He's pretty good, I would say, at improvisation. He's got that Jupiter-Uranus trine. He's got 2 grand trines in his chart. Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus, right there. It's a grand water trine. Then he has a grand fire trine, if we include Chiron. So he's talented, right? The astrology works for him, but he's not very good at being in the world. paying bills and dealing with the IRS, not his strong suit. A high lack of earth. Lack of earth right there. He also winds up, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was in Harlem Nights. Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor, was Red Fox in Harlem Nights. Anyway, he's an interesting character. He's a very third house guy, right? Very chatty, very funny, but again, he has that Sagittarian quality of like going beyond. Like at one point in time, he was probably the dirtiest comic in America, although there were a few others who were vying for that role. So the mainstreaming of Red Fox was quite difficult. And you can see the Sagittarian influence on Richard Pryor with Red Fox. Richard Pryor loved Red Fox. And, he would see him. And if there was any chance of getting his recordings, he would snatch them up and listen to them. But it was, the comedy scene it's a live thing. And so he's got that, he's got that ability to be very spontaneous. The Jupiter-Uranus trine is almost like improvisational jazz. He's got Uranus in the 6th house, so the way that he makes his money is not going to be typical, right? It is not going to be typical. And I think he was fairly social, he's got that Neptune-Moon conjunction in the 11th house. But I think he could also, is he trustworthy? I don't know. I wouldn't trust him in relationship. That's for damn sure. Not with that Venus-Neptune-Moon square. Would not trust him at all. I think this guy's got philanderer written all over him. But, clearly a talent and very funny. So what I did is I went back in time and I looked at the rise of Red Fox with Sanford and Son. And this is really interesting. So when Sanford and Son debuted, it was on. Now, what's interesting is that it debuts in January. And I'm sure a lot of you remember the good old days with TV that they would have, the series would come out in the fall. And they would have, and this, I would always look forward to the TV guide that had the upcoming shows for the fall. You go, oh, look at this. This sounds interesting, or this sounds stupid, or, it was a preview for what's coming. And I like TV Guide. The crossword puzzles were super easy. There was Leonard Maltin in the back doing some kind of a review. And just, being able to see, what things were going to play, where and when. It was almost invaluable. But Sanford and Son does not debut during the fall. It debuts in January, which is very unusual for a show. Usually, if it's a replacement show, it'll come in during the springtime. Like they'll give a show, I don't know, 10, 12 episodes, sometimes 14. And if the ratings are just not there, if the buzz isn't there, and they have a pilot that they feel could be better, I think that the networks they would swap it out during it. But generally, like launching a show in January is unusual. So if you look at that first show, there were probably already at least 5 or 6 shows, maybe more already in the can. So if we track Jupiter, like Red Fox is going through like the creation and the filming of Sanford and Son, he's going through a Sun-Jupiter conjunction. And Jupiter, it being in Sagittarius on that night of January 14th, 1972, conjunct Ceres, conjunct Mercury, wide conjunction with the Sun. And he had already gotten that Jupiterian opportunity. Look where Pluto is. It's retrograde, but it's going to work itself out. It's going to be direct. It's going to hit his ascendant. Pluto's going to change his life. It's going to make more money, and it's going to get him in trouble with the IRS, but it's going to be a life-changing transit. Look at Uranus conjuncting Saturn. I think this one is really interesting because, again, he's younger than he is, like portrayed on the show. But also, it's the ability for somebody who's outside of the mainstream, which is Uranus. And Red Fox was about as outside of the mainstream as you could get. Right? This is a guy that was on the Chitlin circuit, and he was a comedian to primarily black audiences. And now he's got a Uranus-Saturn conjunction. The mainstream is ready for Red Fox. And it's like this brilliant piece of timing. And I love looking at sort of the inception of a movie or a TV show and an actor, and you can see it, right? You can see where it's all triggered. And he's got this Venus-Mars conjunction, which is absolutely brilliant, right? Again, it's like Venus, which rules Libra, is bringing balance to his native Mars in Aquarius, and now there's a receptivity for a much more toned down, yet still accessible version of Red Fox. And we're going to, over the course of the next 5 years, witness Saturn rising in his chart, right? That is a 3-year period from here to here, right there. And then we got another 2 years of Saturn before it goes off the air. And it gets into like the third decan of Cancer. So right around 20 degrees of Cancer. And that's going to go into the Saturn square. And then he's got to figure out what he's going to do after that, right? It's like, okay, well, what now? What next? So I think this is really interesting. Also, if you look at the true node, it's conjuncting as part of fortune. Like if this couldn't have been a better day for NBC to launch that show, both for the network and for Red Fox in general. So there you go. There's transits in action. Like this is where astrology, I mean, even though it's happened in the past, this is where it comes alive. Transits in action. Okay, if you like the show, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe. I've had a bit of a drop off in subscribers. Am I losing my fastball? Am I losing fastball? I know there's rumors that have been a bit tyrannical, but sometimes it happens, right? I've been going through a difficult stretch. Sometimes dealing with people that I deem difficult brings out certain characteristics. But I'm here to turn a new leaf. I'm here to be the kinder, gentler version of Robert Phoenix. You see, it's all this Sagittarius. Let's let bygones be bygones. In some cases. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you all for being here. Catch me over on 15 Minutes of Flame. I have to hustle into the other studio and get that all set up. We'll see you there. Have a blessed day. Use your head and order. Discernment's real. Your heart to set what's possible. Robert Phoenix signing off.